Since 2016's Deadpool, the rise in R-rated superhero films has been exponential, with a major cinematic release for an R-rated film occurring every year since Deadpool's release back in 2016. So what happened for R-rated superhero films to evolve from this?
Started a massacre! I caused the revolution! You betrayed the law!
To this.
This is what it feels like.
Are R-rated superhero films needed, and what makes them successful or unsuccessful? And before I get into all that, please may I ask you subscribe to this channel, it really helps me out, and if you are enjoying this video, please do leave a like. First of all, let's establish what an R rating is, and why it has been seen as the kiss of death for films. An R rating essentially means the film is restricted to people over the age of 17, and any under 17 needs to be accompanied by a parent or guardian in order to see the film in theatres. Rating your film R seriously limits the number of people who are able to see the film, when family films are probably the most lucrative to make, as you have mum, dad and the kids all buying a ticket. An R-rated film usually limits the viewers to 1 or 2 going in a group. Also, parents are less likely to take their kids to a film that is R-rated due to the nature of what will be shown in the film, such as sex, violence, gore and profanity. Studios typically ensure their films make the PG-13 rating in order to enhance the number of people able to see the film. Also, adding an R rating doesn't generally enhance the story, so it's seen as pretty pointless to make your film R-rated, as there is no actual advantage to making the film restricted. Studios will actively alter their films in order to make the PG-13 rating. The most notable of these films was 2018's Venom, which in the editing process was consciously watered down in order to make the PG-13 rating, as the filmmakers felt this opened up the possibility for future installments of Venom to be able to interact with more family-centric characters, like Spider-Man. Other films such as Batman vs Superman will release alternate cuts making the film R-rated, although that cut just basically added some blood to scenes. Especially in the case of superhero films, the largest demographic who enjoy these films are children. So by making the film R-rated, you have basically cut out a huge chunk of your audience. With only a limited amount of people to advertise to, you need to hope you appeal to the small sample size, otherwise your film will be fairly unsuccessful. Previously to 2016's Deadpool, R-rated superhero films were considered very niche films, usually ranging in quality, and were smaller budgeted made films. Such films like Kick-Ass, The Crow, Super and Spawn were made on fairly slim budgets when compared to modern day superhero films. These films came up to various ranges of success, and it wasn't until Deadpool did R-rated superhero films seem like a viable option for a comic book film. R-rated superheroes began as smaller films. These were more experimental and all follow the same basic idea. They're all set in the real world, not the Dark Knight's unrealistic real world, no, the actual real world. Our mains can really do fantastic things and are mostly laughed at by everyone around them. R-rated superhero films were highly limited and on the whole weren't very good. So how did we get to mainstream R-rated superhero films, and do we need them? I feel fairly indifferent to R-rated films. For films like Deadpool, Logan and Joker, I can see why these films were made R-rated. And in the context of those films, the rating enhances the film, where the R rating is woven into the film and is something that makes the world these characters inhabit feel more realistic, whether it's the dark and grittiness of the world for Joker and Logan, or enhancing the humour set within Deadpool's universe. But for every R-rated hit, you get a film like Hellboy or Birds of Prey, in which the R rating feels shoehorned in order to meet this new market. The R rating in these cases reduces the quality of the film. This was especially evident in Birds of Prey, a film I do actually enjoy, but I found the R rating played zero part in the story, and only really made to make the film feel more adult, but instead neglected fans of the film who saw no need for the R rating. I always judge an R-rated superhero film on one simple method. If you take the R rating out, does it change the story? Take the R rating out of Logan, Deadpool and even Joker, and you have a vastly different film. Take it out of Birds of Prey or Hellboy, and you have the same basic film. After the release and success of Deadpool, I was worried about the future of superhero films, that studios would see this as an opportunity to make everything R-rated, as if this was an untapped market. For the most part, I am extremely surprised by the restraint shown by studios in regard to big blockbuster R-rated films. The discussion has changed for a lot of superhero films now, that when the character is a little darker in nature, many fans ask whether the film will be R-rated. A key example was Venom in 2018. Due to the character's violent nature, many fans demanded the film be an R-rated horror. Sony in the end went for a PG-13 rating. For me, that was the right choice when making this film. Venom isn't typically a brutal character in the comics. Whilst yes, his appearance and persona is scary, you have to remember Venom interacts mostly with the child-friendly Spider-Man. Venom I always saw as kind of the boogeyman. Yeah, he's scary to children, but teens and older people wouldn't be particularly frightened by the character. The key aspect of making your character R-rated is knowing whether a more adult theme actually embodies the character. Characters like Joker, Deadpool, and in some cases Logan tell more adult comic stories, so an R-rated film suits the character massively. But when you compare that to a Harley Quinn or Venom, then it is just a case of trying to force a more adult theme onto the character, because filmmakers believe these characters have that crossover ability. Harley Quinn being an R-rated film is also extremely bizarre to me, and I think it's a case of a studio thinking an R rating sells a film. But Harley Quinn is occupying a universe which is PG-13, so the blood, gore, violence and excessive profanity doesn't really suit the world we know Harley Quinn lives in. It works for a character like Logan and Deadpool, who also live in PG-13 universes, because these films ensure they distance themselves away from the continuity of the preceding films. Harley Quinn instead makes constant references to the wider universe she occupies.
Hey, I know that guy.
For me, the R-rated superhero film is a great subgenre when completed correctly. Deadpool is walking a fine line between being over the top and using the R rating creatively. Logan used the R rating perfectly, utilising it to show the brutal world Logan now inhabited, and the pain and torture Logan's life had become. A message a PG-13 film could not convey as well. For me, I am amazed studios have shown restraint in making R-rated superhero films, but this is mostly to do with the strong possibility the film will not make as much money. However, the top 6 grossing R-rated films, 4 of these positions are occupied by comic book films, with Joker achieving the impossible and making $1 billion globally, even making more money than Rise of Skywalker. The R-rated superhero film is a niche subgenre, and I'm hoping that studios stick to making few of these types of films every year. If they are making an excessive amount of R-rated superhero films, I can see the quality declining vastly. Making all your superhero films R-rated seems like a cheap trick. I think this was very evident with Birds of Prey, where the R rating never actually served the story. For me, the R rating should be used to attempt to tell an alternate version of a superhero, not just used for the purposes of being more adult or adding depth. Endgame has plenty of depth and adult themes while still being a PG-13 film. I do think we need R-rated films due to many fans of comic book films being adults, and I think it does serve this demographic of people. I do enjoy going in and seeing an R-rated superhero film, as it does give a better sense of the real world. However, I don't want to see loads of films become R-rated, because that would be pointless. But for me, at the moment, R-rated superhero films have done pretty well and have been of good quality. So I'm happy for studios to keep using the R rating as they wish, just not do a Birds of Prey and just put it in there for no reason. Thank you for watching.